What's up, everybody? It's time for the Week 4 picks against the spread for college football. We have a full slate of games going on this weekend. Well, as full as we can possibly get, I guess. There's a few cancellations out there, unfortunately, but most of the games are going to be played. We got the SEC starting play this week. That's the big news. A couple weeks later than everybody else, but there's 7 games there as well. We'll touch on all of those and more. So let's jump right into it. Texas State goes on the road to Boston College. This is kind of an interesting intersectional matchup. Boston College is laying 17.5 points at home against the 1-2 Bobcats. Of course, several weeks ago in an abbreviated slate, that very first week of games, Texas State gave SMU all they wanted. Next week, they came out and lost to UT San Antonio and finally got a win last week against UL Monroe. Boston College opened the season last week at Duke, and as I predicted here on the Carolina Jackpot channel, they covered and won that game fairly easily. It was 26-6. And who'd have thunk it, Boston College has a passing game. Quarterback Phil Jurkovec, a Notre Dame transfer, tossed for about 300 yards. Zay Flowers, a wide receiver, looked pretty good in that game. Of course, they can run the ball also with David Bailey there, but it looks like Boston College is going to be a team that's going to throw it around some this year. Texas State has a decent, little bit of a pass rush against SMU. But they actually look better in that first game loss than they have in the 2 games after that. Boston College really impressed me last week, and in this game at home, it's supposed to be 80 degrees in Boston on Saturday, so it'll feel a little bit more like home, I guess, for Texas State, right? Usually when you're traveling to Boston, your weather is at least below 50 degrees or so, but it's going to be a nice day there for a 6 p.m. kickoff. I like Boston College in this spot to cover that 17.5 points. I think they'll get up big early and kind of cruise. Pick the home team in that one. Number 13 in the country, UCF travels to East Carolina. UCF started their season last week against Georgia Tech. Won that game. The final score was really not quite indicative of how close the game was at one point. I think they won, 49-24, 49-21, something like that. Georgia Tech gave them all they wanted for the first half, and then UCF just kind of hit some big plays down the stretch. East Carolina, this is their first game. They're in a disadvantage already there, so they're going to be kind of rusty coming out. Last year, they actually played UCF fairly tough, ended up losing 41-28, I believe, on the road. This one, a home game for them. UCF traveling, second week in a row. 27 points, though, when you can put points up like UCF is capable of doing, it's not really a huge number. Of course, Holton Ahlers is coming back as quarterback for East Carolina. I think they'll be able to put up some numbers of their own. 27 points to me seems like a lot when I know that East Carolina has a high-powered offense. They will be able to score in this game. I don't think that they're going to win. I definitely don't think it's going to be that close. But I kind of look towards the home team to cover this number, even though this is their first week out. UCF's first week out was just last week. It's not like they have a huge jump on East Carolina. Give me the Pirates in this one to cover that big number. Kentucky on the road at Auburn. Now, a lot of these games I also picked on our Rob Conrad and Kel Show podcast for our Callaway's Pick'em Challenge. And if you watched the live stream of that, you saw some of these picks and my reasoning behind it. Number 23, Kentucky goes on the road to face number 8, Auburn. catching 7.5 points in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Tough matchup for Kentucky off the bat. Auburn is normally, a team that hovers there around the top 10 to top 15 in the country, and no different this year. Starting off at number 8, of course, we don't have Big Ten teams factored in there. We will before too much longer. And then I guess we're going to have Pac-12 teams factored in there come November. So I don't really think they're a true number 8 team in the country. Auburn lost a lot. They lost all of their defensive backfield from last year. Lost a couple of NFL players off of the defensive line. That's going to hurt. And they're starting, 5 new starters on the offensive line. So ton of work to do there, along with limited spring practice. They're ushering in, of course, Chad Morris's offense. I'm going to change things up a little bit. Their quarterback, Bo Nix, he looked good at times last year. At times he didn't look so good. And Kentucky's just, they're going to be, the same old thing, strong on the lines of scrimmage, strong defensively. Coach Stoops has done a nice job there. They're going to be running behind an experienced offensive line. They've got 3 capable running backs back there. No superstars in that backfield, but Cavassier Smoke, A.J. Rose, and Chris Rodriguez. Form a nice trio in that backfield where nobody's going to be carrying the load too much. I think they can pound Auburn a little bit. And Auburn, on the other hand, I question, are they going to be able to pound Kentucky? They got to find somebody to run the ball. 7.5 points to me in this situation with Kentucky's experience coming back, with all these new starters that they're going to have to usher in at Auburn. And I think Auburn will be fine because these are all highly recruited players. And they're one of those programs that kind of just reloads a little bit. They don't really necessarily have to rebuild. They recruit at a very high level, but they don't recruit at the level of a Clemson or a Georgia or an Ohio State. It's somewhere down there in the tier below that. So the popular pick is Kentucky to cover. A lot of the money's going on Kentucky to cover the spread, and I like the Wildcats. I like them to cover here too. I'm going to go with Kentucky in this situation. The only thing that concerns me is Terry Wilson is taken back over at quarterback. He was not really that great a couple of years ago when they had that 10-win season. It was Benny Snell on the offensive side of the ball that really carried the load there. Wilson has been known to turn the ball over a little bit. They can't afford any of that stuff against Auburn, or they'll be in trouble. I do like them to cover the spread. I think it'll be a very close game at the end. It wouldn't surprise me if Kentucky wins this game. I would not be shocked. That would not be an earth-shattering upset. It would be a mild upset, in my opinion. So give me the Wildcats. The Wildcats in this situation to cover the spread there at Auburn. Number 5, Florida is traveling to Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is catching 13.5 at home against number 5, Florida. Some people think Florida's a little bit overrated. I can see it both ways. I mean, this is a team that, they've been to a New Year's Six Bowl the past couple of years. I mean, they had a New Year's Six Bowl in 2018 with Felipe Franks as quarterback, and he was just not your best quarterback that you could possibly have. Last year, he gets injured in the Kentucky game, usher in Kyle Trask. All he did was just, finish with... either he had the most passing yards in the SEC or Bo Nix did. I don't have it right in front of me. They were both very close. They are actually, I think he was second behind Bo Nix, but he had a couple less starts as well. So they found a leader there for their offense. They've got to find a running game. Running game last year was abysmal. It was non-existent. Their starting running back last year, Michael Pirine, actually did more damage coming out of the backfield to catch the ball than he did actually running the ball. So that's going to be an issue. The offensive line there it's so. You're okay there. You've lost some talent at wide receiver. You've lost several playmakers on that area of the offense. They've lost some edge rushers. Both of their edge rushers are gone off the defense. So this is going to be a little bit of an adjustment for Florida, and I think they'll be fine. Another team that recruits at a high level, and Dan Mullen I think one of the better coaches in the country at making something out of nothing. If not that he has nothing, but he can definitely very innovative on the offensive side of the ball. Ole Miss got the Lane Kiffin system coming on, and I like they have a running back in Ely, who's a talented player. Got a couple of talented receivers out there as well, and their defense. You gave up a lot of points last year. They have a decent pass rush, however. So Ole Miss never really known for defensive prowess on that side of the ball. I think that Florida will be able to score some points in this situation, albeit I think it's going to be in the second half when the game kind of opens up a little bit. But I think Ole Miss is going to keep this one close. I think this will be one of the better games of the weekend. And I think that they have enough firepower to hang in there with Florida. I don't think they're going to win this game. I see them losing it by about a touchdown. I think this is going to be a really close one. Florida has been known in the past to kind of underperform. They really have been known to underperform. Last couple of years against my Gamecocks, I mean, they were clearly the better team, both on paper and looking at the eye test. But they didn't perform that way. In 2018, they should have lost. Last year, they should have lost as well. I mean, we kind of got some crappy referee calls early in the second half of that game, and didn't go our way, and then weren't able to move the ball, and Florida kind of coasted to a victory, and the final score was not indicative of how close the game actually was. I'm going to look for Ole Miss in this situation to keep this game closer than what some people think. Georgia Tech goes on the road to Syracuse, and Syracuse is catching 7 and the hook at home in the Carrier Dome. This is the first time these teams have met since 2013. Only met one time since Syracuse has been in the ACC. And Georgia Tech won that game in Atlanta 56-Dick. So this is a totally different Syracuse team, albeit I don't know if they're any more talented than that team was or not. Well, of course they are. Their 0-2 record right now is, it's a little bit deceptive. That first game against North Carolina, they were only behind 10-6 going into the fourth quarter. Ended up losing that game 31-6. Defense just couldn't hold up. In the fourth quarter, they faced the same teams that a lot of teams, or faced the same fate, that a lot of teams who don't have a very good offense end up facing. And that's the defense just not able to hold up late in a game, and give up some garbage time points and make a final score look a lot worse than what it really was. In this situation, Georgia Tech looked okay in the first half last week against UCF. In the second half, they kind of got worn out a little bit and gave up a lot of big plays. I don't think they're going to give up a lot of big plays to the Qs. They don't have an explosive offense. That's just not what they do. Syracuse, they impressed me against Pittsburgh. They hung in that game. Didn't play that bad, but they're still. This is going to be a low-scoring affair, and I don't see Georgia Tech being able to really light the scoreboard up here. I don't see Syracuse being able to do it, but I do think Syracuse is improving just a little bit each week. We come to third week right now, and I like the Qs. I like the Qs here. I like the Qs for the upset at home, and I like them to cover the spread there. And heck, I may even test the waters on that one. I'll sprinkle a little money line bet on the Qs to win at home against Georgia Tech. Kansas State travels to number 3 Oklahoma. They're a 28-point underdog. This is a revenge matchup. Nobody's been talking about that, but this is a revenge spot from last year where Kansas State won in Manhattan against Oklahoma. Handed them their only regular season loss, I believe. In this situation, they are 0-1. They lost 2 weeks ago at home to Arkansas State. That was at 31-24. Oklahoma last week with a nice win over a tomato can in Missouri State. It was like 49-0. Spencer Rattler was like 16 of 19, I think, passing for like 290 yards in just basically a half of football. This guy's special. They just reload over there at quarterback every year, and on that side of the ball, you know they're always going to score a ton of points. I think the revenge factor here. I think Oklahoma. I don't think that they're going to take the foot off the gas here like they did against Missouri State last week at home. I like them in this situation to cover this number. Kansas State, I think just doesn't have the Joes, man. Just does not have the Joes to stop Oklahoma. They've gotten blown out a couple of times in this series recently, and I could see that happening on Saturday. Give me Oklahoma to cover that big number. Louisville on the road at number 21 Pitt. And what have I done here? I don't have the line there. That one is Pitt minus 3.5. And I didn't put the line for the next game either. Shame on me. Last week Louisville didn't look good at all against Miami, especially defensively. Just gave up a ton of yards, tons of chunk yardage at a time. But in the second half, they kept on coming. They kept coming back. They kept moving the ball against Miami. So we know they can do that. But they just have a hard time stopping anybody. And I don't like them in this situation against Pittsburgh either. On the road, Pitt is going to line up. They're going to run the ball. And they've developed a little bit of a passing attack as well. Become a more balanced team. Just some issues there. Scott Satterfield's got to get that side of the ball fixed. If Louisville is going to be able to make any kind of serious run, I think that was some people's dark horse candidate for maybe like the number 2 or number 3 best team in the ACC. I don't think they are even close to that. Defensively, they've got to get it together. But I like the quarterback, Mikael Cunningham. I like their skilled players, Atwell and that bunch. But, on the road at Pittsburgh will muddy the game up, slow it down somewhat. And I think they'll cover this number and win by probably about a touchdown. Give me the home team to take the win and cover. Mississippi State goes on the road to LSU. LSU is a 16.5-point favorite, I believe, is what the number was on this one. Just going ahead and give it to you. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take LSU to cover this number. It's a home game. You'll be about 20% full. And if any of these stadiums will be loud with 20% of a crowd in there, it'll be this bunch. Okay, this is Mike Leach's first game as SEC head coach. when's the last time that they had an offense like this? It's been a while. And, I think that he's going to do some good things at Mississippi State, but they're just not built for that right now. This quarterback, KJ Costello, if he gets flushed out of the pocket, and he will, because LSU still has some talent up front defensively, despite what they've lost to opt-outs, and of course we know already what they lost to the NFL draft last year. It's just ungodly, the number of players that they had that ended up in the league. He faces any kind of pass rush. This guy is not going to be able to run the ball around and pick any yardage up with his feet. And I think he will get a lot of pressure. Once again, Leach is going to do some good things at Mississippi State, but when you go into a program, you're kind of left to, you got to do your thing with somebody else's players that they recruited to run their style of offense, to do their type of things, and sometimes it fits like a square peg in a round hole. And I think that's kind of what you might see here at Mississippi State this year. We're talking about like Lane Kiffin going in at Ole Miss. The defense or the offensive system that he's going to be running is not that much different. It's not just, inherently different than what they've been doing there in years past. This one, however, this air raid stuff is. So that's why I'm going to take LSU here. I just think there's just too much of a learning curve with Mississippi State right now. I don't think they have the athletes to run this type of offense and do it successfully. I think they probably could turn the ball over a little bit and stall quite a bit in this game. So give me LSU to cover that number. West Virginia on the road at number 15, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is laying 6.5 in Stillwater against the Mountaineers. Both teams are 1-0. West Virginia did not play last week. They beat Eastern Kentucky the week before, 56-10. This Kentucky has been the whipping boy of the state of West Virginia this year. They lost to Marshall 59-0. Oklahoma State, of course, last week didn't look too good. Still ended up getting a 17-6, right? I think it was 17-6, maybe been 16-7. Anyway, it was too close, closer than it should have been. Win over the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, in-state rival, a game that Carolina Jackpot did not pick correctly. I think this line may be a little bit short. I think it may be a little bit of an overreaction to that game against Tulsa. That is an in-state rivalry. These teams tend to play each other a little bit tougher, and I should have took that into account a little bit more when I was making that prediction. Oklahoma State, though, still with the Sanders kid at quarterback, Chuba Hubbard in the backfield. I think that they take this one over West Virginia. You go back to 2015, ever since 2015, in this series, Oklahoma State is 5-0, and they have covered the last 5 against West Virginia. And a couple of those games, they were actually the underdog in and still got the win. So 5-0 against West Virginia. Last 5 years, 5-0 ATS. I look for the same here. Give me Oklahoma State to win this game at home and cover against West Virginia, a team that still, looked pretty explosive against Western Kentucky or Eastern Kentucky, but this is not Eastern Kentucky that you're taking on here, and they still got some work to do over there in Morgantown. 22 Army on the road at number 14 Cincinnati. This is a game I'm looking forward to watching. This one wasn't scheduled before COVID-19 forced all the schedules to be all cattywampus. And I think they picked up. It's a really good one, too. Cincinnati quarterback Desmond Ridder. This is a team that is multi-dimensional. Luke Fickell does a nice job there. They're returning 9 players on defense, too. One of the most experienced defensive teams in the country. Army, Christian Anderson has emerged as the star of their team, the star of the offense anyway, as a playmaker for them. Army's going to slow that game down. This is the type of offense, and Cincinnati does not face this type of offense. And they do play Navy. Navy is in the American Athletic, and I do remember my research how they have done against the Naval Academy of late. And actually, that's a little stat that you could probably look up. Put that in your little folder of things to do. Look up how Cincinnati has done against Navy. That might give you some kind of an idea how they would do here in this situation. And I don't have that information right in front of me. Quite honestly, I don't have it in front of me if they've actually played Navy in AAC play. But nonetheless, we've seen Army go on the road last year. They take Michigan to double overtime. The year before, they go on the road. They take Oklahoma to overtime. I think it's probably even more impressive. And the year before that, they had a tight game going on with Ohio State for 3 quarters. And then they just couldn't keep up at the end of the game and ended up losing 31-7, but they still covered the number. This is a team, last year's Army team was kind of down a little bit. Coach Monken has this bunch looking a lot better, and I like them. I like them to cover this number here. Jeez, jackpot. I didn't get this one down either. This one was 11.5, and this one right now sits at 14. I'm pretty sure that's what we're sitting at on that line. And I'm going to take Army in this one to cover this number. They're going to eventually beat one of these teams. And I don't put Cincinnati in with the Power 5 type teams they've played the past 3 years. But they, just for comparison's sake, we'll put them there. They may knock off one of these teams, and it could possibly be Saturday. I'm going to take Army to cover the spread regardless. Duke on the road at Virginia. Virginia is laying 5.5 at home. This is Virginia's first game. I had one with Virginia Tech that got canceled. Duke is sitting at 0-2. Losses on the road to Notre Dame and at home against Boston College. I think they're hungry to get a win. Chase Bryce has played fairly well at times this year. It looked better against Notre Dame than he did against Boston College. Has some problems with that defense. Virginia's got some pieces in that defensive backfield coming back. And this is an interesting one. Duke, I think, has got the experience edge here. I think Virginia's going to have some growing pains replacing Bryce Perkins at quarterback. It's a dynamic playmaker for them. It's kind of a do-everything guy. And I'm just mild upset pick here. I'm going to take Duke here to cover this number and possibly pull off the upset. I don't think they're as bad as they looked last week against Boston College. I think they just got kind of blindsided there. I don't think they were ready for the Boston College air attack, which is something we have not seen there in years. And I don't think that they're as bad of a football team as that final score made them look. I'm going to take them on the road to cover this 5.5 points against an untested Virginia team that's replacing some pieces on offense. Number 4, Georgia, travels to Arkansas. They are a 27.5 point favorite on the road. This is a huge number. Georgia, I think will be okay defensively. Arkansas has got some decent players. You're talking about Raheem Boyd, the running back, is one of the better running backs in the SEC. And now they have Felipe Franks at quarterback, who, wasn't a great quarterback at Florida. In 2017, as a freshman, his numbers were really bad. But in 2018, Felipe Franks improved his numbers quite a bit under the tutelage of Dan Mullen. 2019 was cut short for him due to injury. I think he took some of those principles, I'm sure, with him to Arkansas. Now he's going to be playing in that Kendall Briles offense. And Georgia will likely be starting what started out as number 3 is now, I guess, number 2 on their depth chart. DeJuan Mathis, a quarterback, really highly rated kid. I think they'll be fine. They're going to be able to run the ball on Arkansas, and maybe start out a little bit slow. And I think that may be what keeps them from covering in this ball game, which is the way I'm leaning. Just call me a little bit crazy here, but that 27.5 is a huge number. Arkansas is another team with a new coach, new systems there. But defensively, they got Barry Odom coming over from Missouri, former Missouri head coach. They'll be good. That'll be an improved side of the ball. I think Kendall Briles will do some good things for them offensively. So give me the Razorbacks in this one to cover this number. I could see them losing this game by 24. My only fear is that Georgia starts out really slow and then gets their footing under them, midway second quarter, and then starts cruising from that point on. As opposed to jumping on top of Arkansas early and then taking the foot off the gas later on in the game, which we could see an Arkansas backdoor cover maybe in that situation. Anyway, taking Arkansas. Alabama, number 2, Alabama. Should be number 1 or number 2. On the road, I'm just kidding. At Missouri, sorry, Taters. And they're laying 28 points on the road against Mizzou. Not a lot of people high on Mizzou at all this year. Starting out there would be Eli Drinkowitz, the new head coach. And, that's going to be a totally new offensive scheme for them. And I think in time that will be a team to be reckoned with over in the SEC East. Going to do some good things there. Just too tough of a test. Just too tough of a test coming back. Alabama, a lot of starters coming back. Over on the defensive side of the ball especially, they're going to be much better than they were last year. I can just see them just jumping on Missouri from the get-go and cruising at 28 points is a lot. I think they could just kind of name the score here. I really think that Missouri is going to struggle with a new system, new quarterback coming in, the transfer Sean Robinson from TCU, who I think is a good athlete, will be taking over there. But a lot of receiver talent. As far as running back wise, they'll be okay with Larry Roundtree III and Tyler Beatty, who can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's got some decent hands there. And so they'll be okay there. It'll be interesting to see how Drinkowitz and crew use Tyler Beatty in this new offensive scheme for Mizzou. But I'll just look for Alabama just to road grade them and take care of business on the road. Give me the Crimson Tide to take care of business and cover the number against Mizzou. Florida State is on the road at number 12, Miami. Miami is laying 11 at home. I think this line is too short. Florida State is horrible. And to top it off, they have head coach is going to be out with coronavirus. I think he's trying to communicate with the team by phone. Not sure how that's going to work out. But, new systems there, a new offensive scheme, and that growing pains. It didn't look good against a mediocre Georgia Tech team at home a couple of weeks ago. And then now you're traveling to probably one of the hottest teams in the country. The road team has actually covered the number in this series for the past handful of years, and I know that some people are taking Florida State based on that, but those kind of trends don't always work out every year. And what keeps them from working out some years is one team being an absolute turd burger. And that's why I think Florida State is. They've just got so much improvement down there that needs to be made. It's not going to be done this year. It's just not. They're not going to. They may win 2 games, and I think Miami can name this game and get a big home win in the rivalry game. Give me Miami to cover the 11-point spread. NC State on the road at number 25, Virginia Tech, who is only laying 6.5 points at home. This one had opened up around 11, and it's been bet down to about 6.5 points. Virginia Tech's got some COVID issues. Going to be missing some players in this game. Of course, last week we saw NC State get a 45-42 win it was at home against Wake Forest. And the emergence of Bailey Hockman at quarterback for the Wolfpack. And Virginia Tech, this is their first timeout. Of course, they had a cancellation game against Virginia. That defense is solid. They had 10 returning starters. So one of their cornerbacks opted out. Never mind that. Still really solid over on the defensive side of the ball. I think they're going to be able to slow NC State down. This can be a tough place to play. And this is 2 teams that don't play each other very often. I liked the way NC State looked last week. They got out ahead of Wake Forest early in that game. And kind of back and forth in the second half, and we're able to get a victory there at the end. This is a really tough one. This is a tough one for me. NC State, terrible last year, 3-9 record they finished up with. I think they go on the road here. I think they do not cover the spread against Virginia Tech. I want to take the Hokies in this one. Don't look for as many points to be scored in this one as you saw last week with the Wolfpack. But Virginia Tech does have the ability. The quarterback, Herndon Hooker, who took over about the middle part of the season last year and really set them up for that run towards the Belt Bowl, which they eventually lost. Give me Virginia Tech in this one. I think they cover the spread here. It's not going to be by much. They may win this game by a touchdown, and we don't know who they're going to be missing due to coronavirus. That information, as far as I know, has not been made public. As I read all of the injury reports have that kind of stuff listed on it if the information is available. But I'm going to take them anyway in this situation. That could be dangerous. Could be a bad pick on my part, but I'm still going with the home team Hokies. Vanderbilt on the road at number 10, Texas A&M. Texas A&M laying 30 and the hook at home against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, poor old Vanderbilt, is just, they are been depleted of skill position talent off their team. And last year's team, not very good at that. They only had one SEC win, and that was an upset win against Missouri. They've had a lot of opt-outs along the offensive line. Dimitri Moore, their linebacker, was the star of that defense. He opted out, and then he opted back in. So I believe he's a go to play against Texas A&M. But it's just not going to be enough. Kellen Mond and company, this is going to be it's going to be tough for Vanderbilt here. However, I think that 30.5 is just a little bit too much. I think it's just a little too much. Texas A&M, I was also talking about Florida State, or not Florida State, Florida being a team that has been known to disappoint. Texas A&M is a team that's been known to disappoint too. Sometimes start off, kind of struggling some games and not really look that great. I don't think this is going to be a name the score type of ball game. I think Vanderbilt will ugly this game up a little bit, just enough to keep it under the number. I think they're gonna struggle to score, as we saw them do last year several times. But I'm going to take them here in kind of a shocker, because I think most folks are going with A&M on this one. I'm going to take Vandy to cover the number and keep it just under that. I think we'll probably stay. I think it will be around 4 touchdowns. I can see maybe a 42, 42-14 type game, 42-13, something like that. That would just keep it just under that 30.5 point margin. Finally, the game of the evening, the number 15 in the country, Tennessee Volunteers, traveled to the beautiful capital city of South Carolina, Columbia, to take on the Gamecocks. The Gamecocks are catching 3.5 points at home against the Volunteers. It's kind of disappointed to see the Gamecocks come into this game as an underdog, but it's to be expected. Tennessee ran off 6 wins in a row to end the season last year, and I guess the most impressive of those victories would have to be the one against Kentucky, I would say, on the road. It's a new day, and my thing with Tennessee, as I've said all offseason, is what are you going to do to replace the production that you got from Jawan Jennings and Marquez Callaway? I mean, what are you going to do to replace it? Josh Palmer is the only receiver they have on the roster that's really got any type of experience whatsoever. So I think they're going to struggle there. I think they'll have some success running the ball against the Gamecocks. With Eric Gray and Ty Chandler. I think Chandler is actually the starter, but they'll split time, and Gray probably the more talented of the two backs. Of course, they're going to be running against a very experienced and talented offensive line. Trey Smith, Wanye Morris. I don't know if is Cade Mays going to play or not. I don't know if the guy's eligible or not. I've seen where he is, where he's not. Just nothing really official on that yet. It just sucks that these guys are just allowed to transfer in like that and able to play when South Carolina's got players in the same boat who can't. And I evidently ticked somebody off on the Carolina Jackpot video I made the other day. He said, "I couldn't believe you would call out Mr. Whatever his first name is, Wade from Ohio State, and Wyatt Smith, because they waited 5 months for the Big Ten to give them a ruling, and it's their prerogative if they want to opt back in, and blah 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 blah, and their future first round draft picks." Okay, so the kid from South Carolina, the Brooks kid who transferred in from Wingate and Tarleton State, he can't play. But it's not important because he's not a future first-round draft pick. Let me leave you with this. 30 players or so are first-round NFL draft picks every year. 30. That's it, 30. Guess how many guys play college football? A lot more than 30. So guess what? Most of them ain't first-round draft picks. Doesn't matter. His love for the game, the fact that he wanted to come to an SEC school and play. And in this year of 2020, where just about anything goes as far as eligibility, as far as sitting out, coming back in, whatever you want to, and this young man can't play, it just seems like a double standard to me. Just looking at some stuff around different people, different handicappers. A lot of people are going with Tennessee. Just finished watching a video from Josh Pate with the late kick. I call him Mr. White Shirt. Mr. White Shirt likes Tennessee in this game to win. And he put the line at 6.5 points. So that's just, I'm sorry. I value his opinion on most things, but on that one, that's just fundamentally wrong. South Carolina will have the edge here as far as on the defensive side of the ball. will be good on the defensive line. Our secondary is one of the best in the SEC. And if that offense can move the ball, we've got to move the ball and generate some yardage. We've got to keep this defense off the field. And I think they're going to do that on Saturday night. I think Mike Bobo is just needed here in Columbia. Individual, not afraid to maybe make an unpopular decision as far as starters and playing time. We're going to be starting Colin Hill, the grad transfer from Colorado State at quarterback. Guy knows the offense. Difficult playbook to understand. He's taking the reins of the job over from sophomore Ryan Helinski. Ryan's perfecting his craft right now, getting his mechanics right, getting his timing right. He will be fine. I expect him to start some during the season, just not Saturday night. My only concern with this is it's a run-heavy offense with Bobo, and we have two running backs who have very little, if any, SEC experience. So that could be an issue. Running behind an offensive line, the offensive line is not as good as Tennessee's. They're much better along the offensive line than what we are. However, it's once again, they just don't, in my opinion, have the skill talent to match that really good offensive line. So that's just what I think. This is going to be a low-scoring game. And I think the team with the better defense here wins. I think the more disciplined team is going to win. You can look at what's happened over the offseason, the coronavirus issues that Tennessee has had. Just suggests to me that maybe, and what South Carolina's had, just suggests to me that maybe our program just a little bit more disciplined under Coach Muschamp and Coach T. Rob and Bobo and crew. I don't want to make a homer pick because you'll think that I'm crazy, but I'm taking my Gamecocks in this situation. I think they cover that spread. Coach Muschamp, 7-1 against Tennessee all time, 7-1. He makes it 8-1 on Saturday night. South Carolina gets the win here, and I don't even call it an upset. It's just a win. It's just going to take care of business and go 1-0 on the new season. So that's it, guys. Carolina Jackpots picks against the spread for week number 4. Late video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit this one with a thumbs up for me. Give me a subscription if you're not already subscribed. We're posting college football videos here all year long. We will be here with you all season, all the way through the college football playoffs, and we're going to have a heck of a lot of fun doing it. Make sure you stay tuned. Much Tennessee and South Carolina talk to come in the next couple games, including some live stuff during the game Saturday night and post-game reaction from Carolina Jackpot. I'll see you all later. I appreciate you watching. Peace, and I'm out of here. Go Gamecocks, baby. Woo!